What's going on? We are back with, and I sound like Sigma, we are here with an Omniverse discussion, episode 2. And we are going to be talking about the Snyder Cut and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And hopefully we'll get to mention the show Invincible, which will be coming out tomorrow on Amazon Prime. I think they're dropping the first 2 episodes. But before we get into that, I'm going to tell you who I'm joined by today. Sigma Gears 9. Everybody knows him.
I don't know who everybody is, but
everybody knows you. Everybody knows you. And then my man, the Flash over there, DJ Quick, the 5'9".
What's up, everybody?
And together we form the Open Party. We're missing a few arms and legs and fingers, but some of us are here, so we can kind of form a disjointed Voltron. So we're kind of there. See, he gets it.
Like a half of Voltron.
Exactly.
Yep,
Exactly.
Yep.
So we're gonna get right into it. We got a pretty lengthy conversation coming up about the Snyder Cut. Spoiler are ahead. So if you have not watched it, even though it is another Justice League movie, please understand that there will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, I suggest you leave right now, check it out, and watch us later. I see you in the chat, Kado. Hey, bro, how you doing? But right now we're going to get into it. So, the Snyderverse. I mean, the Snyder cut of the Justice League. 4 hours long. He said, well,
yeah, might as well be a Snyderverse being that damn long.
Right. Well, Katie, I appreciate you stopping in. If you haven't already, definitely hit that follow button on the Superman Jeff channel as well. But definitely watch this once you're done. And we'll be back every other week to talk about comics. So you're definitely more than welcome then. But part 1 of the Snyder Cut starts out, it says, "Don't count on it, Batman." And that kind of lets us know a little bit of what's going to go on in this part. And it starts out very differently than the first Justice League, where you had that video of Superman with the missing mustache talking to the kids. This one starts out with pretty much a death cry from Superman going across, different areas throughout the Snyderverse as we speak. What did you guys think about that?
It kind of seemed like a call to arms or warning of what's to come, which was kind of cool. I like the way they set that up.
Like, I get what he was going for, and I feel like I'm gonna keep repeating this. I did like this movie. Like, this is much better than the first version, but like, there's a lot of stuff in it that could have definitely been better, and that was actually one of the big sticking points to me. Is Zack Snyder does not leave anything up for you to interpret. He rubs it in your eyeballs and makes sure you get what he wants you to get. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Superman's death reverberated around the world, like it can be felt around the world, it resonated with all the people. He literally shows you the sound wave of his death cry flying across the globe and resonating in all these different facets of the world. And it's like, okay, I get it. But like, did you have to it's a lengthy scene. It spends a long time doing this, and it's like, we get it. So that's all I want to say in terms of critiquing that opening.
I'm with you on that part. I didn't like either opening. I felt like you said, the opening with the scream, to me, even as far as comics goes, he ain't got that much range like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, vocally, he shouldn't be hitting them chords down in the sea. You know what I'm saying? Like, sound travels a lot slower through water. So that part I don't kind of care for. But like you said, he was trying to make a point that everyone knew he was gone. They were mourning. And then now pretty much Steppenwolf and them knew it was game time now. Nobody was there to protect. But also, he hasn't been around all that long for them to even know that, to be that afraid of him. You know what I mean? Like, he was a kid at some point. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, right. They could have came back then. But okay, I digress. What were you going to say, DJ?
Well, I mean, yeah, I liked it. Visually speaking, I really liked it. Showing the reverberation hitting each different hero at the point in time of Superman's death.
Mm-hmm.
It showed that this really did affect everyone in some way, shape, or form. And the fact that that reverberation kind of hit the mother boxes and like, boom, like you said, go time.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of set everything in motion. And I like that it kind of showed how it set everything in motion versus in the original movie, you're like, okay, wait. So Darkseid was just coming. What started this?
Yeah, right. Like, what initiated this? Like, what's going on? Now, I don't get me wrong. I did enjoy the opening better than the first one, and I did understand its significance. Like I said, there were some things there was some. There's another way that I would have liked it for it to open, but I'm not going to go into that. That's a little bit more lengthy. But let's talk about once they knew it was game time and the bell had been rung, like, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor said, Lex Luthor said, the bell has been rung, we can't unring it. We saw Steppenwolf. Okay. Now, Steppenwolf, if we go into pretty much the last movie and this movie, we see Steppenwolf completely different than in the original cut. Now, what were your guys' opinion on Steppenwolf? And he's up on the screen for everybody who, if you just need a refresher, you can see what Steppenwolf looked like in the original cut versus now.
Honestly, it's a nicer looking thing, but I don't think it added that much. Like he's still a pretty generic, fully CG bad guy. Like it's not on the level of I was gonna say Darkseid, but freaking Thanos.
Okay.
Like they had Josh Brolin's face kind of, you could see his emotions and stuff, but Steppenwolf looks more animalistic.
Right.
So like you don't really get the same range of emotion on that CGI face in that. The armor was cool though. Yeah. So I mean I guess that helped a little bit. But what he really benefited from, I think, is just the fleshing out of what his motivation was. And it's not a lot, but it's better than what came before, where they say like, oh, he failed before. Like he was like a kind of a hubris filled bad guy. He tried to one up Darkseid or whatever, and then he basically put him in his place, which tells you if Steppenwolf is this bad, but he's trying to appease Darkseid because he tried to go up against him before and failed miserably, then it really just puts Darkseid in a new light, right? Because everyone is losing to Steppenwolf killed like a bunch of Amazons, all that stuff, right? So that it really just, it puts him in a better light and makes him more fleshed out as a villain and as an entity to go up against, rather than kind of just this stand-in like he was in the first movie.
Right. What about you, DJ?
Steppenwolf. So, character design wise, I kind of like the original armor. It looks like actual armor, which was Steppenwolf's thing. He was all about one-on-one combat, based on, if you go on all comics stuff, but with the shifting metals and stuff, and I don't know. It's just really, it kind of threw me off a little, but I mean, they made him swole, but then they
he's a lot bigger because of it, right?
Right. Now, if they had like kept the armor style, but made him big, I would have been cool with that. I wouldn't be conflicted.
Now, for me, I feel like the first iteration, he looked more like, when you first start playing Dark Souls and before you consume a humanity and you're hollow, he looks like a hollow to me. Like he looks like you're that base character that just broke out the asylum in the game, and he just put on some armor he found laying around on enemies and just stuck that on. He's like, yeah, now I'm good to go. Like, I don't even think there's horns under that helmet. I think that helmet, and it can't be easy to fight like that. You know what I'm saying? It just can't be. So that was my concern in the first movie. It looks like a shirt is under that first layer of the vest. Like, it looks like he has
he's wearing a kind of chainmail.
Yeah.
Like, chainmail button shirt underneath a vest.
Now, this armor and this aesthetic gave him more of a ferocious look. Like, he looked more menacing. Like, his face in the first movie looked more like an old, generic old man kind of face. Like,
I can see that.
like it looked a little rough. This one he looks more monstrous. I'm not. It's CG. It's CG. You can't really, like you said, you can't see too much emotion, but you can see a little bit, just a little bit more. His horns now, to me, they fit more than what they look like in the first one. Like this is like the Steppenwolf you bought on Wish versus the one you actually wanted. You know what I mean? So it was like, and the armor. Okay, the armor made sense for me because it's that whole apocalypse type of technology. You know, it's dark. It's dooms. That type of like, spanking. What do you call it? What's that? What do you call that stuff with the chains
Spandex?
and whips? Chains and whips and stuff.
Oh, like
Yeah.
You talking about BDSM?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Something like that. Now, and it made sense because the reason they couldn't kind of damage him was that suit. Like, they couldn't stab him and stuff because that armor provided some, like, was the protection. And we see that later on. Like, once that was done, he was kind of just left open for, like, the shish kebabs. You know what I'm saying? So, we get some of that. Now, the backstory, like Casey touched on, I think was more important. It sounds like there was some type of usurper type situation where
he tried to raise up against Darkseid somehow.
Yeah,
and like
we know Apocalypse is like that. Exactly, and he was like, and he put everybody in their place, and it seemed like he came to his senses and then decided to betray those who were trying to take the throne, and he killed them. And that's why Darkseid kind of spared him and said, "I'll spare you, but this is your penance. You need to go pay me these 50,000 worlds, and don't be late. Come the end of the month. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be late.
You better have my money.
You better have. Don't be one world short either. Otherwise, there's gonna be some problems." Now,
what's funny is like the scene where Desaad is telling him, "Oh, it's not finished after this planet is conquered." It really feels like they told him this was the last one. Like he just finished 50,000 planets.
He's like, no.
This is planet 4,999, and they was like, "Oh no, there's another 50,000." Like that's how his face looked.
And you know what's funny? It's because Darkseid said he's only conquered 100,000. So now you ask this man to conquer a half of now we don't push the goal up now. You ask him to conquer the same amount of worlds you done conquered. Now, let's get a little bit in the chat. 50,000 Steppenwolf went all puppy eyes. That's what PZ the one said. He did, like you saw the tear in his eye. Kadu said his exotic armor. It does look like something from Destiny. Like you can stop arrows from penetrating your skin with the armor on. You can activate it every 10 seconds or 30 seconds. Now, KC brought up Desaad. Now, Desaad, we didn't see in the last movie. We saw nobody else from Apocalypse. Now, Desaad we know from if you watch the Superman animated series, you know Desaad.
Which just dropped on HBO Max, I think, right?
Yep, I just started watching that. If you watch the Superman animated series, you see Desaad on there. Also, if you watch the Justice League War, the first movie in the New 52 lineup of the animated movies, they had Desaad in that one, and you'll see him on the screen now. This is Desaad in the animated movie. See him right here. That's Desaad's little malformed face. Now, he's a counselor to Darkseid and his scientist. He kind of is the one who turns everybody, for the most part, to parademons. So that's Desaad. I just wanted to touch on that since Casey brought him up. But we're going to move on to part 2, The Age of Heroes. Now, this one was kind of probably my favorite act for the most part. We start off with first, Matt Choi. We saw Matt Choi. So Matt Choi in the comics becomes the Atom. So if you play the Injustice video game, Matt Choi becomes the Atom, the guy who can shrink down the size and get bigger. He was if you watched Legends of Tomorrow or The Arrow, Ray Palmer was the first Atom.
Yeah, that's who I thought was Atom.
And then Matt Choi also became Atom. He was the second version of the Atom. That's why when at the end they said, "Oh, your specialty is something about atoms." I don't know, or something like that.
Your specialty is atoms, right? Yeah,
like
ain't you that atom guy?
You the atom guy. Now, the extended scene between Wonder Woman picking up the arrow of Artemis. What did you guys think about that addition to the movie? when she kind of
I
picked
don't.
up the arrow and she jumped down and went into that cave, and that's how she kind of discovered, oh, okay, that's who Darkseid was. They were like, we can't let men know. They ain't gonna know nothing, obviously. So let's send this to Diana. She got the arrow, and she hopped down using the arrow, which let her into that cave, which kind of gave her the warning of what was going on, as opposed to the first movie where they just shot like an arrow that set some hay on fire that just the fire wouldn't go out, and that's how she knew. Oh, that's what that means. That fire. That's what that means. I know what that means. We talked about this when we was roasting marshmallows.
You know what? I don't think that was like in the first version. I don't think that was crazy to think that. Because Diana's from there, it's not like she was born in the world of man. Like, she's from Themyscira. So, like, if it's a legend that Amazons know, Diana is a full-blooded Amazon. If she saw that, and that's what that is supposed to be like, oh, this beacon means those people from that war that we should be afraid of, they're coming back, then easily she could just be like, oh, I remember that story. Let me go warn anybody who needs to know this information. Like, that's fine. Them fleshing it out like that was purely just padding. It felt like they didn't necessarily need to do any of that. I'll admit that giant arrow was pretty cool.
It wasn't it?
But other than that, like all they needed a reason for Diana or anyone outside of Themyscira to be made aware without an Amazon having to come tell them, because they don't have technology. So they just needed some way to get that information out. And either way works, but one was shorter than the other, and the other one just inflates a 4-hour movie that you could really use some edits in a movie when you reach 4 hours. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
DJ, what was your thoughts?
Kind of useless. It was kind of useless. I mean, the first one, it sent the arrow. She's Themyscira. She knows everything that she needs to know. Okay, boom. Let me go tell everybody. Flesh it out. You got her looking at hieroglyphs from ancient times of man and every.
Yeah, who painted those? Like, isn't she like the first Amazon outside of? Wait, no, that's not true, right? Because they do say that the other ones got stayed behind.
Yeah, before they got
so Amazons were there.
Yeah, after the war, men tried to enslave the Amazons, and the gods sent them to that island to protect them. That type of situation. So, but everybody lived together in the beginning. Like that was before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That was before the Atlanteans went down under the sea. But yeah,
first they was from Atlanta, like they just lived in Georgia. But then when they got mad, they just went in the water, and then the name just stuck. That's what happened.
That makes sense. Now for me, I felt like that part was more to build the excitement about Darkseid, and also let's not forget that this movie, when it was shot, before they only added like 38 minutes of extra footage. The majority of this movie was already just sitting there. They added 38 minutes of extra footage. Obviously, they went back and fixed Steppenwolf and that type of stuff, but 38 minutes of extra footage was added on to the 2 hours and 15 or 18 minutes that were already established. So,
well, no, you mean it was 38 minutes of extra shooting. Like everything else was just stuff cut from the theatrical release. Like it existed, they just like touched it up with CGI, but then shot 38 more minutes after the fact.
Yes. So like that scene I felt like was more so just to build up hype about Darkseid. It's like, oh, Darkseid. Okay, yeah. But other than that, like you said, I think it was just her stretching her legs, just going for a walk. Because even then, like her just to show up and pick that arrow up and nobody noticed. I think there were like cops there or something.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, so she could just steal stuff. Like this thing made like national news for some reason. But she was able to take this artifact from there and just walk off with it without anyone saying anything. But all right, whatever.
She didn't even get to book the flight. They should have showed her booking the flight, or getting on the plane, or getting there. And then, but whatever. Next, we're going to talk about. We already covered the side. We're going to talk about that scene with the old heroes. We saw Zeus. We saw Ares. We saw. Actually, let's go in the chat. Yo, Kiba said. Yo, Kiba, what's going on, man?
What's happening?
Hey, welcome to the Omniverse discussion. The old heroes. We saw Zeus. We saw Ares. They even showed his face so you can see what's the name. I forgot his name. You saw Artemis. You saw a Green Lantern. The Amazonians, the men, and the Atlanteans. I do like how they fleshed this fight out a lot more, and that it was Darkseid. Like, you actually saw Zeus throwing lightning, you saw Artemis with her arrows, you saw a couple different things. What did you guys think about it?
I think it was a good scene. Yeah, I was waiting to the big battle. Again, this was like mostly CGI, but like it was good CGI. You know, it wasn't like muddy and hard to tell what was happening. It was a pretty clear battle. Lots of good moments in it. I thought the Green Lanterns taking part was a cool nod, but then again, it's like, all right, so then what happened to them? Because they won, but then like now we're in the present day and like there's nothing about them. And granted, that's more exposition that you definitely don't need to stack in there. So if they weren't involved in the scene, we probably wouldn't have missed them. So it was more like a fan servicey thing. There's like, oh, Green Lanterns were involved there, but it's like that just leads to more questions, you know?
Right.
But other than that, I thought it was actually pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
I actually love the scene specifically for the Green Lantern nod, because me being the huge Lantern nerd I am, I actually went back and researched which one it was, and it was the one right before Abin Sur, who started a lot of stuff that's probably gonna, if they flesh it out some more for the series that's supposed to be coming out, I believe, is gonna be a huge thing for that. But Kiva in the chat actually mentioned it. The part I hate the most is him getting waxed.
Oh, he got
Yeah.
He was not smooth with those constructs,
like,
man.
His constructs were nothing apparently, and then that arm.
Kiba said, y'all cute with y'all comic shirts. PZ the one said, I was hearing they have a tight leash on GL because of how bad the movie did. He could only give cameos. Oh, Green Lantern, yeah. I know they're trying to build excitement on it for the series that's coming to HBO Max. So I know that was kind of a nod about it. There were also some mentions of possibly Diggle becoming the Green Lantern because he was one in a different universe in the Arrow show. So they were talking about touching on some of that. But we also saw in that fight that he cut off the ring. It looked like the ring was thinking about going to Darkseid. He's like, oh, you got will?
Right.
You got some willpower? If that would have happened, that would have been the end of the series. That would have been the end of the movie. That would have just been done. Like, it would have been donezo. Yeah. Now, also, like, it shows how powerful Darkseid is because it took a couple of the old gods just to kind of take him out. Like, he was putting in some work.
Yeah, honestly, it was only the old gods that really like stopped him, from what I could tell.
Right.
Like everyone else was kind of losing, but then it was like Zeus and Ares, specifically Ares, who kind of like hurt the man.
when the King of Atlantis hit him with the shockwave, Zeus looked over like, oh, he hurt. Get him. It's like he started attacking him. He's like, everybody just started pouncing on him. Now they did make the mistake of letting him get away. Now he was bloody, but they let him get away. So obviously that was now my question with that is they whooped him so bad he forgot what world that was.
Doesn't make any sense, man. I don't understand. Like when they reveal like, oh, Steppenwolf finds out that, oh, this was that planet, yo. Like, look, listen, if I capture this, you get that thing you always wanted, because this is the planet. I just happened to find it. And Darkseid is like super excited because he really couldn't figure out.
I blocked that part of my life out.
Like, and not just like he had a whole army with him, right? Somebody was flying that ship. You telling me this dude just didn't know how to get back there? That makes no sense.
Maybe this is like planet 1 out of 100,000. Like, this is his first planet, his test planet, and it just didn't work out. And he's like, you know what? Just nobody speak about this. We're gonna erase this from the history books. We ain't teaching this in school. Like, it never happened. Let's just move on from it. But it was funny that he forgot exactly what planet that this happened on.
I saw a clip earlier today where this man's like, you know what? We don't talk about this. This never happened.
We don't talk about Fight Club. We don't talk about Fight Club. Now, that brings us to part 3. And this part was called Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. And it started, to me, that dealt with the relationship between Cyborg and his mom. and that's kind of what we'll get into first is the scene with that extra scenes with his mom showing up for school. He got in trouble for changing one of his friend's grades, and just how strong and stoic she was. Like she made the principal feel ashamed. It's like, he did this for his friend because she's in trouble. She's doing X, Y, and Z. What have you done to help her? And he's just like, oh, she right. I ain't do nothing.
So, yeah, I ain't do
nothing. I ain't do nothing. Now, what did you guys think about that scene starting from the start to finish? Like, what was your takes on that?
Like, you mean like all of Cyborg's?
No, just that
part about him and his mom.
Yeah, because we're gonna recap like his effect on this movie a little bit later. But
okay,
like, what was your takes on that particular scene? Like between his mom, and then I think that kind of goes into when he kind of starts to realize what powers he has. His dad's kind of telling him, "You can do this, and that." So, what was your thoughts on that arc with him in that particular part 3?
Essentially, Cyborg gets like his full origin story in the middle of this movie, right? And it was actually a pretty quick, neat way to give you Cyborg's personality, his skills, to foreshadow like the kind of hero he's gonna be. Because like, the thing he did was change somebody's grades using technology. So like that goes to show you like that's kind of his wheelhouse, right? Like he has a natural affinity for that stuff. And then it also contrasts his relationship with his mother with that of his father. Like, he's a high school football star. First of all, he has everything going for him, right? He's like the guy you wanted to be in high school, captain of the football team, straight A's, tech whiz. But then you see that his mom is the only one in the stands. And the thing that he's worried about is the fact that his dad's not there, right? So like that's his sticking point. And of course, that's going to be the catalyst for like his arc. It's him and his dad's relationship because everything else is perfect, but it's just that one thing that's not perfect, and then that's what plays out for the rest of his story and the rest of the movie. So like I think that was actually some pretty tight storytelling for his origin. Like definitely way better than the last time because none of it existed the last time. But yeah, like I kind of dislike Cyborg in general. I just think he's super boring as a character. I've always loved him in Teen Titans because Teen Titans overall is just a much lighter show. But like just Cyborg as a character and everything else I've seen him, he's kind of throwaway. But he kind of mattered a lot more in this one. And like you got to commend Snyder for like making Cyborg a lot more likable. You know what I mean?
Right. DJ, what was your take on it?
Honestly, the whole part between Cyborg and his mom is it showed me what truly motivated him towards the end to really become a hero. It showed where he developed his his will to go.
Morals.
Yeah, his morals. It showed his moral compass. That's what his mother demonstrated was his moral compass versus his father showing his technological drive, which made him Cyborg. I mean, the whole thing, it was a good piece to me, but just that beginning half was could have been a little bit more clear. I mean, like you said earlier, Sig, you can throw. I mean, Zack Snyder throws everything right in your face. There's no subtlety.
Yeah.
So,
right.
But that part actually had some subtlety to it. I actually had to delve into that.
Now, for me, I agree with Sigma. I felt like it made me care who Cyborg was. Too many times they just show him as his mom died and his dad's just neglectful. That's it. And he's just angry at his dad. That's it. He's just mad at his dad. He just don't trust his dad. Whether that was Doom Patrol, whether that was Young Justice, he just didn't trust his dad. So this gave another light to that. And not only for Cyborg, for Silas. Silas had a much bigger role and allowed to kind of flesh that character out. In the last one, he was kind of like I don't know if they even showed him. He was just in the video of when Cyborg became Cyborg. No, they showed him a little bit. I forgot. He got kidnapped and stuff as well. But he didn't have such a big role. Like he wasn't as prominent as he was in this one. Like if he didn't heat the box, they would have never found the mother box. Like he sacrificed his life to ensure that his son would have a better life. And even though in the beginning he wasn't able to show that because he was so consumed with his work, it didn't mean that he loved his son any less. And that's what his mom was trying to tell him. Like, guess what? When the chips are down there, he's going to be there for you. You know, I'm here, but I understand your dad's heart. Like, I understand what he wants to do. And I think that kind of hit home a little bit, kind of let me know, like, I do care about Cyborg. Because too often times he was just a one-dimensional character who they used as to be part of the Justice League to add some diversity to it as more than just Martian Manhunter. You know what I'm saying? So it made me care about who Cyborg was, and it showed how much got cut, but we'll talk about that later. We'll talk a little bit about Barry's scene. What did you guys think about the scene between Barry and Iris?
You go ahead, DJ.
Okay. So that scene actually hyped me up a lot. That scene kind of made the movie for me, showing a better distinction of Barry's abilities. I mean, this man literally had time to save Iris, admire Iris, and fall in love with it at that time, and then be back in the pet shop in the middle of a
Don't forget he put the hot dog in his pocket.
Oh yeah, put the hot dog in his pocket so he could ace an interview. So
yeah, man was multitasking.
That man was super multitasking.
He would say he ripped out his shoes. Yes, I love that.
That was too funny.
That was really cool.
You got a job, but again, what happened to your shoes?
What?
I don't know.
Boy.
You're like I am absolutely surprised that they would dare cut that scene out of the movie. Like, cause it's just dope. Like, it's just flat out cool as hell. Like him poking the glass with his finger because he basically wants to like make space. So I guess he doesn't, cut his face or whatever.
Right.
Like, it's just so freaking cool. Like like the visual effects team, like put their foot in everything about that scene. Like, it was just dope as hell. Like, point blank period. Like, I don't care if it had nothing to do with nothing. Like, I understand that it was his first interaction with Iris. Doesn't matter. It could have been a random old lady. Like, just leave it in there because it's dope.
Right. And I think that's what was missing, where to me the big three didn't need as much of anything in this movie as far as a plot point, a storytelling part. The Flash and Cyborg and all their stuff should have been left. For Aquaman, like, they cut a couple of his scenes. I didn't really go into his because he had he had a much bigger part than them anyway. But there was still some stuff from his cut. You should have left their stuff. You could have cut some of it back from Batman, some of the stuff back from Wonder Woman. The people we already know who have their own movies. We know about these people already. We need you to tell us about these other guys who were there, who were part of this. Make us care about them. We already care about Batman and Wonder Woman. But Barry, for me, I think that the first movie, to me, he was just out of his element. I felt like he just didn't know what to do. He was just like, he wasn't much of a help. Oh, I never fought anybody. I just usually run really fast. Just save one person. And I'm like, what?
It was kind of, they really didn't build out an arc for him. Like, even if that was the line they were gonna go with, oh, Barry is new to this hero business, right? Like, that could have been his arc. Like, this is his first chance to basically see what he's made of, right? But that's not really how that played out. Like, I see why people dislike the way Ezra Miller plays him. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not super annoyed by that because I kind of like Ezra Miller as an actor in general. Mm-hmm. But I get it. Like, he's a little, and this is kind of the same thing with Jesse Eisenberg. Like, he's supposed to be like funny, sarcastic, and motor mouthed, but he kind of just comes off as like socially awkward. And he even says that, I think, right? Like, he says like, "Oh, I don't have friends" and stuff. And it's like that seems unrelated to like his character and his behavior.
Right.
Like, they kind of kept that too in this version. Like, it's like his arc ends up being him coming back to society because he was in like that weird little cave that they don't explain. Like, that's not really relevant why he's in like a weird Flash cave at all. But like the resolution is like, hey, I got a real job and I'm gonna be back in the world, Dad. So now you can stop worrying about me. And it's like, but like, why? Like, just be a regular person. Like,
That's it.
like I didn't see the purpose of it.
I did the first movie I did find a little weird to hit the way he portrayed him, but this movie kind of made me less concerned with that. Like he was just happy. Even the way he ran was different. It was different the way he ran. He ran like he was like he was in ballet.
Yeah, it bothered me less in this version than
it
the
didn't.
first version.
That still bothers me. That still bothers me.
Yeah, it's not a great run. It's not. It's really not.
Run.
Yeah, it's like a super long stretch, and I think it kind of makes sense. Like it made the most sense in the scene where he was charging the box in the ship.
Yes.
Like because it just looked like he was covering so much distance. Like that's just how long the stride is, right? So like, I can see it, but yeah, it still looks goofy.
Right, but
it still kicking.
They did him a better job, and I think these things that were taken out added to these characters and made them richer for the experience. I think it would have helped what they were trying to do. They were trying to fast forward in their DCU phases, and if this in game, because it was 2 parts, it worked. If it would have been just one movie and they tried to fit all that into one movie, obviously there would have been issues. The same thing here. Sometimes you just have to do a 2-part movie. Obviously, if you're spending the money, you're still doubling your profit because it's 2 separate movies. If that was going to be the case, if you didn't want to do one, or you even do a premium price for the 1 4-hour movie, whatever it is, you're going to make your money back if the movie is good. But trying to squeeze everything that was in this situation into one movie, I'm not saying Joss Whedon did a terrible job, but once again, we got to take into this is a 4-hour movie versus a 2-hour movie. He had Zack Snyder. I loved the movie. I loved it. Great job. Had a lot.
Is that his brother?
Jack Snyder.
Zack Snyder had a lot more time to flesh things out and to explore these characters, where Joss Whedon had to fit all that into there. Now there was some issues with his process, which kind of would have affected everything else. I think his vision for the movie was off as well. The way, you can't cut out the big bad. You can't cut out Darkseid. It just makes no sense. Like Steppenwolf wasn't he wasn't a business owner. He worked for somebody. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't the man at the top. So we couldn't leave that out. That takes us to part number 4. And we're going to go... The fight in Gotham was no different than the last. I couldn't see any differences, so we're really not going to go into that. But we will go over, which you touched on, the anti-life equation, which the mother boxes told Steppenwolf for some reason that it was there. Hey, it's here. I didn't understand how it was telling him that. He told me that they told him that. There should have been something else.
It's like it was like in his desperation, it called out to him or something, right? It's like, man, I wish there was some way to kind of turn this situation around. And then the mother boxes just kind of answered, which again, like to kind of go back to how dumb it is that Darkseid forgot about this planet. He knew that was where the anti-life equation was, right? Like he found it the first time.
He found it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So how the hell would he be like, oh man, where was that place again? Like, isn't that his life's work?
Is that in the Milky Way? Is that in the Milky Way? I think I drove by there before, but I didn't see it on my way through there.
Like everything he's been doing is for that purpose, and he somehow forgets it. Like this is stupid. Stupid.
And for you who don't know what the anti-life equation is, it is an equation. Obviously, it's the opposite of the life equation. It is the anti-life equation, which, if he learns it, he can pretty much take free will away from everybody. If you watch the Young Justice, the last season, they actually deal with that in there too, and it gives you a great example of what the anti-life equation is. That takes us to the visit between Martha and Lois, or Martha Manhunter. Haha! You heard it here first. So what was your takes on the reveal that obviously the first show of Martian Manhunter, we knew he was going to be in here, but the first reveal of him, and that he was trying to get Lois back into the land of the living for the most part.
Well, I mean, with the way they did it, him portraying Martha to speak to Lois to bring her, as you said, back to the land of the living, it was actually perfectly portrayed from Zack Snyder or from the original scene. I mean, that is probably the only possible way that she would have been involved in getting Superman to calm down when they brought him back to life. Because I mean, Superman peeved off and no Lois to calm him down. That's not good for anyone.
Mm-mm.
But I really liked how they came in with the emotion for Martha and Lois, and he was able to tap into it. And I kind of like the way that they showed a nod back to Man of Steel as well, with him transforming into the General from the end of Man of Steel.
Mm.
I mean, I also thought that scene is actually like really nice. Like it's a like kind of a touching conversation with two people who are experiencing
Grief. Mm-hmm.
and whatnot, and a mother who's lost a son talking to his the woman he left behind and stuff, and like that can be very resonant to a lot of people, and then you realize that it's all fake.
Yes.
Like Martha never came to go see Lois. Like apparently she doesn't give a crap about her son's widow or whatever. She never shows up until Superman is back, mind you. Like they don't talk to each other because Superman apparently Clark was the reason that they even hung out from Martha's perspective, because all of that was just Martian Manhunter manipulating a person. I thought that scene was awful because like it completely robs it of any meaning. Like, first of all, why the hell did Martian Manhunter know that? First of all, how did he know that Superman would be back? And then why did he care enough about Lois if he didn't know that Superman would be back to get her out of her depression? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense.
Now, for me,
also he's ugly. I just want to add that. Like, I think his character design is ugly as hell in the movie.
They didn't do a great job with his character design. I do feel like this scene was unnecessary, as showing that he was the one behind it.
Yeah, it ruins it.
Yeah, it could have just been a her and her type of situation, and it would have meant a little bit more, showing that he was keeping tabs on everybody. Because remember, he's a general, so he could have been using other means to keep track of of them, as opposed to him just phasing through solid objects or going invisible, just having to look at people and keep an eye on them. So, but also begs the difference, like, if he's all this has been going on, why has he not been helping? Why has he not been contributing in other ways? Also, it begs the difference that
where was he when they were fighting?
he was just watched Batman versus Superman last night. He was in the war room talking to the president.
Yep.
So he was involved, just not in any meaningful way. Like they launched a nuke at it. Like that was him. That was Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, he wasn't involved, and I do like the reveal of him. I do like that he is in the DCU. I do like that if they do decide to go on with what happened here and kind of erase what happened last, that would be great. It also begs that we might see a version of the Atom show up. We got 2 new heroes showing up. But like you said, I think it made it a little bit creepy that he knew a lot about Lois and a lot about her mom, and even though he's a telepath, he can read people's minds and
you know what?
like
That's
that.
right. Yeah, he's a telepath.
So I get that to an extent, but still, that didn't have to be his DCU appearance. Like that could have been somewhere else. Like he could have met with Lois about something, or Bruce about maybe. Hey, could you mind, guys, sending some troop? We're going to try to wake up Superman type situation. And he's like, yeah, we can do that. And then he goes away and then turns into Martian Manhunter. I'll do more than just troops. And then he'll go and talk to Lois, like make sure Lois is there type situation. Hey, you should maybe go visit Clark one more time. Or we're thinking about tearing down the monument or something to get her there. But that could have been handled differently.
I just want to
pull the whole Nick Fury with it. Like
he could have taken part in gathering everyone together. Except they were doing it themselves.
Right.
It was stupid. But like I just find it hilarious because he did that thing where he pretended to be Martha. At some point, Lois is gonna be like, Martha, I'm so glad you came and talked to me that day. Like that really meant a lot to me. And Martha's not gonna know what the hell she's talking about. And Lois is gonna tell Clark to put her in a home. She's gonna think something's wrong with her mind. So, your mom was forgetting things, Clark. Like it was a really meaningful moment. I don't know how she could ever forget that.
So morbid. But that's gonna take us to part 5 and part 6. This is during the resurrection when Cyborg, everything is going on. Cyborg's about to wake up, do the initiation, and he has that vision of things that could go wrong. The mother box well, the ship or the mother box, somebody telling him like, hey, listen, this might be a bad idea. These are things that could possibly occur. And we're gonna go over. I'm gonna put a couple of the scenes up. Where's the other scene? We'll start with this one. So, apparently I didn't save the other scene, but this one is the one we have. We see Clark holding, or Superman holding, a charred remains of a body, and it looks like he's in Wayne Manor or the Batcave or wherever that is. Now, obviously, most of us speculate that is the dead body of Lois. And then we see a vision of him, if it's up on the screen now, of him hovering over Wayne Manor. And then I'll zoom in a little bit. Just give me a second. Take that one out. He's hovering over Wayne Manor, and he's holding Batman's cow. You see a dead Green Lantern to the side.
That Green Lantern is Kilowog, by the way.
Yes, he's the one saying that too.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was Kilowog.
That's Kilowog laid out.
And you also see a card floating. Now, remember this card because it's going to come up again later. You see where the red arrow is. That's the card that looks like it's in half. It looks like a Joker card if you can see a little clearer. I'll bring it up. Yep. That card is going to play into play. You see he's holding Batman's cow, and you see some parademons in the background. So this is saying that, hey, whatever happened with that dead body, Lois died, and Superman lost whatever he thought, whatever redeeming qualities humanity had, it just died with her and, unfortunately, his unborn baby. So this is, and it shows, which I lost the picture, Darkseid putting his hand on his shoulder and his grief becoming more of an anger situation. I don't know if that has anything with the resurrection he was coming back, but what was your thoughts on his vision of things that could possibly come to pass?
It definitely gave me major Injustice Gods Among Us vibe. Like, Death of Lois. The card representing a certain clown prince of crime, you know? So it definitely could have been something dealing with that along those lines. So I'm thinking it's kind of delving into multiverse theory with with the whole series going from, oh, this is what could happen. Make sure, so point A, point B does not happen, so you don't end up with this.
That is true. Just a little bit in the chat. He knows all. You guys look pretty good together. I might join. And then Kilowog laid out. Okay, I'm sorry, DJ. Go ahead.
Yeah, that Kilowog threw me off a little bit.
And I brought the comparison up on the screen if anybody needs to have a look at it.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, as you can tell from the comparison, that it's definitely somewhat of a Kilowog type lantern there. But that would mean Superman just wiped out the entire protection of the universe right there.
I mean, that's par for the course, right?
Yeah,
Superman is
is
always
par for the
stronger than
course.
everybody in everything. Like it's part of why he's so annoying.
He just,
and and it's a big part of why I do love that Injustice storyline. Like I think it's really cool to make him the bad guy, and everyone is scrambling for ways to defeat him. Right? Like I just think it's a much better story. And I saw this somewhere that I cannot remember, but apparently this nightmare version of the verse is essentially what Zack Snyder had planned for like his Justice League trilogy.
Yes.
So like it wasn't necessarily, oh, this is what could happen. It was all premonitions of the actual future. Like they were gonna have to deal with this scenario eventually. We might never see it because, you know, his version of the movies didn't come to pass. And I kind of understand why he would have gotten such pushback, because when Warner Brothers says, hey, we want a Marvel universe and we want it to make as much money as this, as Zack Snyder gets his hands on it and goes, oh, I want to make it dark. I want to make it like real gritty. And it's like, okay, so everybody's dead and Superman's the bad guy and blah, blah. Yeah, all the Warner Brothers, DC executives like, nah, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. You can't make Superman the bad guy. Like, no, like not for this movie. So like I get why there must have been so much pushback, but honestly, I think that would have been a really cool thing to see is if he got to bring maybe not exactly the Injustice storyline, but something like it to the big screen.
And that's kind of what. And here's the thing: we all know that whatever damage was done, it was going to be fixed. It's just the nature of comics. They're not going to leave the movie at the end in a bad ending. It's just not going to happen. You know, it's like ending the Marvel last phase with everybody just staying dead. Half of the world, half of the universe just staying gone. Like, yep, we never fixed that. We're moving on from that. We're comfortable with that. We're just going to leave it the way it is. No, this...
WandaVision is going to be real dark.
Yeah, this was going to be a situation where, just like in the Injustice comics, Snyder was a huge fan of Injustice, so it made sense that PZ one. It does. And obviously, when Flash ran back, they left that part out, but they mentioned it. He said, hey, Lois is the key. And that's what he was talking about, where somehow Lois dies in the Batcave. Batman failed to protect her. Somebody melted her. I don't know who melted her like that, but they melted her. Darkseid was there, so it had to be him. But I don't see how. And if you watch the was it Superman Doomsday? I think it was, where Darkseid was controlling Supergirl. He was using her pain and grief to kind of turn it into anger to kind of control her mind or whatever it is. So he has that ability. But also, like, how do you go from, if Darkseid killed Lois and you watched him kill her, and you just start working for him right after that, like, did you really care? That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
But wasn't that the whole thing with the anti-life equation? Like, it robs people of free will by...
But we don't know if he got his hands on it. We don't know that because in that scenario, the heroes weren't defeated in order which he would have kind of came across it. We don't know what the circumstances were. And that's my part is, like, there has to be some type of explanation, but also if one of the heroes mistakenly killed Lois, but it sounds like the Joker did it, and Superman blames Batman because why is this dude still alive? Number one, but number two, he failed to protect her. Now, if you remember, the Joker didn't just call him Batman; he called him Bruce at some point. So at the end, when Lex told Deathstroke who Batman was, somehow the Joker found out. And he rolled up at Wayne Manor, and this kind of transpired. So he was responsible for Lois dying, and that's where the card comes into play, which is on the picture on the screen here. It shows the card, and it's like he's daring him to rip that card. Because he's saying if that card is still intact, then they're thinking that reality can be fixed. Like, if this card remains intact, that means our truce was never broken. And he's looking for the Joker to tell him a way to convince his older self to understand that, hey, that's like saying you won't be there for long, but there's something I have to be able to tell this guy to stop him from doing whatever he's planning. Like, you know, if DJ's going to run back in time, KC did something terrible, and I have to convince KC to stop it, but KC hates me, he has to tell me something specifically that I could tell this guy to make him instantly trust me. And I think that's kind of what they're working on. And if you notice,
I don't know. That sounds like a lot of conjecture.
But let me finish, because if you notice, that is what their plan is to fix the timelines. They have the Flash. He's already gone back once. And I think their thing is, hey, you help me save Lois. I'll help you save Harley, because apparently Harley died too. So I think there's some type of mutual understanding for this point, but they still hate each other. So they're still pressing each other's buttons. But they all don't like the world that they're in, obviously. Like, I would rather live with my worst enemy in the world we were in as opposed to living in an apocalypse. Like, we'd work together to fix this. Like, let's just figure this out. Like, we can go back to hating each other once everything is fixed. But let's do this together. So that's the card. But what did you guys think about the different ending with the Flash redo?
It like you said earlier, it definitely showcased the Flash's powers, and I think it kind of set up a type of Flashpoint paradox situation, maybe in the Flash movie that's upcoming, which is Flash at some point doing what the Flash does, going in time and messing around and messing stuff up, and then have to go back in time and fix it, or just, you know what, wipe this universe, let's start another one.
Like, I really like what they did there. Like, his contribution is like 1,000 times more important than it was the last go round, right? But also, I'm forgetting. Was Flash involved in, like, did they still need Flash's electricity for that whole mother box thing to resurrect Superman in the last movie? Was that still used? Yeah.
Yes. The difference is this one looked like he missed his window when it hit the water, so he had to reverse time.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I was wondering about. So they didn't hint at any time stuff in the Whedon version, but it was a nice mini callback, and it's kind of not even fair to call it a mini callback because the movie's so long. Like, that scene happens a long while before you get the other one. But it's like they tease it in that moment that this man runs so fast that time acts funny. Like, he even says that. And, like, you see, like, what he means by that is time starts to move backwards the faster he moves, right? So, like, they basically extrapolate on that in the finale to where legit everyone died. Like, Superman was a skeleton after that thing connected. But he's able to run fast enough to reverse all of those consequences and then make it to when he was supposed to be there, even though he missed it. And that's freaking incredible. Like, that really makes you look at the Flash like, yo, Superman is dumb powerful, Cyborg is dumb powerful, and this guy, he's just as powerful as them. And like, it really makes that team seem like completely unbeatable. Like, Wonder Woman doesn't really get as much shine, I think. Like, she gets that really awesome scene in the beginning, but like, that's kind of like standard superhero fare, right? Like, they didn't make her unique enough. Same thing with Aquaman. Like, Aquaman, and that's always Aquaman's game, right? Like, Aquaman's always kind of the least impressive of any of them anyway. So I think that's fine. I think he'll live.
And they both had very successful movies, even though this would have took place before. But they both had very successful movies, so I felt like they got their shine. And let's not forget with that 3-hit combo to finish off Steppenwolf, who was at the tail end of that to finish it off. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought he was just gonna get sent back, and she was like, "No, you ain't getting off that easy." She just like,
yeah, that was a nice send off. Definitely not the kind of Justice League that we're used to.
Right.
Like, definitely a more brutal, darker kind of team.
Right.
Which I'm okay with. And killing people, it made sense. It just makes sense.
It does. Like, it just happened. Like, why would we let him live? He ain't human. You can't take me against no war crimes or nothing. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't out here taking no prisoners. But while we're transitioning over to do a brief talk about the Falcon and Winter Soldier, we're going to cover any questions or anything you guys have in the chat. Casey, if you want to bring up something maybe that they were... Any whisperings or inklings in the chat that anybody had?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone was asking... Well, no, PCD one was saying the question is, did he go back more than once? I think he's referring to Flash and that whole situation with the Nightmare verse and Joker and Batman talking about doing stuff. Like, yeah, it's because Flash wasn't even in that scene, right? So like, was he dead at that point? Like, did he get them there and then something happened to him? Like, I don't know.
He was in that Nightmare scene at the end.
Flash was?
Yeah. When Superman landed, you saw Flash put his armor on.
Oh, right. Yeah, like that. Okay. He was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess he just didn't say, like, he literally just didn't say anything, right?
He looked a little weird. He looked more like Cisco from The Flash than actual Urza Miller. Like, he did look... He looked like he put on some pounds, too. Like, that suit was busting at the seams a little bit. He didn't look like Urza Miller, I'm being honest with you, so... But, we got.
I think he had like a little stubble.
He did have a little stubble. You know what I'm saying? But that's it for the Snyder Cut. Just before we transition over, if you haven't already, please head to the Superman Jeff 12 channel and hit that follow. I am, I think 5 follower ways now from hitting affiliate. Please do that. Also follow DJ Quick the 5'9" channel and Sigma Gears 9 if you haven't already. We are collectively the Open Party, like Casey said, the left half of Voltron. But also, once I do hit affiliate, I will be doing a comic giveaway. Not sure what that is yet, but I will be doing a giveaway to celebrate making affiliate. So, in order to qualify that, please follow my page, follow the Open Party YouTube page, and I will be putting my email address up. Everybody just gonna will email me, and then I will draw the winner at random. Once again, I'm not sure what the prize will be, but it will be maybe like a little mini crate of some different comic items. All right. But then that's gonna take us into the.
Yes.
Oh, we're just waiting for DJ to come back, but we're gonna be talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The episode was only 30 minutes, so it's not much to cover on there. We're just gonna see, go over Falcon and Bucky, kind of what was going on with each person, and that's kind of gonna leave us with the revelation. So if you haven't watched Captain Falcon, if you haven't watched,
Yeah, I know. I feel like they're gonna make that joke.
right?
They're gonna make that joke at some point, like Captain America and the Falcon. They want him to be the new Captain America. Someone's gonna have to say that.
Somebody will.
Captain Falcon. Say it.
Falcon.
Do it.
So if you haven't watched it already, please watch it. He said Wonder Woman merch. Hey man, we're gonna do a little hodgepodge of stuff in there, a little something for everybody. Or maybe we might have 3 items and kind of just do, a lottery thing on there. But let's start with that opening scene with the Falcon. Fast forward from him putting on the suit, we see the Falcon, and we're waiting for DJ to come back on. Static, please. He said static. We see the Falcon like kicking butt and taking names. Like, what was your thoughts on that? Because you were kind of skeptical on Anthony Mackie having like almost like being the star of his own show. Like, what was your thoughts on that opening scene? Because I was thinking about you as I was watching it.
Like here's the thing that's I guess is a little confusing about my issues with Anthony Mackie. I don't have a problem with like I don't have a problem with him being that character.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think he's charismatic. Mm-hmm. So if you put Anthony Mackie in the Falcon suit and he's doing CG flying and action stuff, perfectly fine. Has nothing to do with Anthony Mackie's acting. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to say or do anything, really. He just has to look like the Falcon, right? So all of that's awesome. Like, I love all of that. Like, it's a really cool action scene. But even so, it's like him being snide. Like, there was that other, what was his name? Lopez? I can't remember. Like, yeah? Or Torres, I think.
Yeah, it was Torres. Yep, Agent Torres or whatever his name was.
Yeah, but like that guy was basically like kind of being a fan of Falcon, and like he was like, asking him dumb questions and whatnot, and like Falcon was supposed to be kind of snide and like cute in responding to him and stuff, and none of that like felt charismatic to me. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know what it is, but like he's just not charming to me. Like, I'd rather he just stick to being a background-ish character. But I will say they did do a good job of making his story matter. Like, yeah. I thought like them exploring like the financial hit that the blip caused on like the people left behind and that stuff is super interesting. Like, I do want to know those details about like how the hell do you handle a loan that's 5 years defunct because a person blipped out of existence and now they're back. Like, hey,
did that gain interest?
Where's my wife and family?
All that time,
like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, are there late fees? Like,
yeah, like I think it's cool. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be Falcon, but the fact that he's there, like, it's fine. Like, use him and explore that very interesting subject matter. But again, it's not necessarily Falcon who's the interesting party there. Like, he's just kind of he's our cipher to explore the interesting part, which is the post blip world.
And Kiba said, KC said, shut up and ball.
Yo, that's not accurate. That is not accurate.
DJ, since you just came in, what was your take on that opening scene with him kind of fighting? Was it Boltrock, the villain that Captain America? Yeah, Captain America fought on the ship. Like, what was your take on that whole sequence of action?
All right, so just straight from purely entertainment, that whole scene was amazing. That was Marvel. Mm-hmm. That is a well done Marvel intro across the board. Mm-hmm. I mean, you literally have this man like, okay, what's the mission? Bet. Jumps out of freaking transport carrier, just skydives out, like it's no problem, goes through a whole fight scene in the air, which we haven't actually seen the Falcon utilize that since his introduction. Like, there's nobody really fighting like that. Mm-hmm. And then Batrock's whole scene where, you know what? I'm not going to fight you in this helicopter. Let me go over to the next one. that set it off. Now him trying to be funny, I it kind of was awkward. It was awkward and flimsy.
Mm.
It's just,
That's how I feel. Yeah.
it's just,
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this, okay? I don't mind Anthony Mackie at all, okay? I think he did a good job. I think that obviously the action sequence was good. I think it was there. I think the story is the best part of this. Obviously, it's selling each one of them respectively. So Bucky, it's showing, like you said, the life. Here's the thing, even though he's the Falcon, he's still black. He going to get a bank, and his sister acknowledges this. Like, yeah, you might have fought and saved the world, but at the end of the day, we still who we are. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to this bank, and the guys, googly eyes. I know you, right? And the thing, oh, you're a football star? Like what? I'm sorry, what?
like,
Yeah, like, can I take a picture with your arm out? Like, no, man, we hit it. Like, if this fan service is, I'm being polite. I'm helping you, but also, I would like to get alone. Like, I just saved the world, or helped save the world. You figured there would be some type of like, I should get like paid $1,000 a week for the rest of my life for some crap like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the type of response you would expect. But the guy was more concerned with taking pictures than actually figuring out a way to help them. And I think his sister kind of nailed it. I think she does have some resentment against him because he was gone for these 5 years and she was left there to figure things out. For him, the blip happened yesterday or a couple minutes. It wasn't like they were in limbo for 5 years. They existed and then they didn't, and then they did again. We saw that with Monica Rambeau when she came back. She thought she was just in that room, but 5 years had passed. So it's hitting everybody differently. And the banks and this guy obviously cared less about helping them and more about himself, obviously. And you gotta show that in that film. You say, look, I got government contracts. I mean, how much more solid is that? Like, it was in that, hey, I'm working for the government. Like, oh, you do? Like, what do you do? Like, you know who I am. Like, I've been flying around the skies. Like, I done been some places, you know what I'm saying? Like, and even when in the beginning, when Torres paid for the stuff, it showed that he was kind of low on money. Like, oh, I get that next time type situation. And that kind of led me to seem like, well, what's going on? And it's showing the other side of, I love Captain America, but Captain America is an example of privilege. And that's shown more so towards the end where obstacles, Captain America was a great person, and in the movie and in the comics, he had ideals, whether people were black, white, no matter what they were, you were American or whatever, it was the American dream is what he fought for. And he had certain opportunities because of who he was. The issues we're running to now is that they can't have a black Captain America. They just can't. And that was one of the reasons why he was like, oh, well, thank you for bringing the shield forward. Like, excuse me?
Yeah, like that. I really, like, I asked this question before the show aired. I was wondering, like, would Disney dive into that subject of the distaste that, the powers that be would have to have? Like, you can't pretend that they would not care, because they would. Like, it's ingrained in the society of the fabric of the country. They would have something to say about someone who is the representative of, like, heroic America, like Captain America, being a black guy. They would have some kind of say over that, right? And I feel like they're threading the needle in, like, a really, like, a very careful way. Like, they're not flat out saying, like, this is what's happening, but there's tons of subtext over everything. Like, just like the bank loan, they made it seem like more like, oh, this is like a celebrity or a veteran who's coming back, and yes, thank you for your service, but also this structure's not built to help you. So, like, you could read it that way.
Yep.
But, like, as a black American, I can read it the other way, right? And same thing with him saying, like, oh, you did the right thing bringing the shield back, only for them to go and give it to some other random dude.
Right.
It's like, if they really want another Captain America, why didn't they try to convince Sam?
Or have that conversation at least, like, hey, we want you to bring it forward because we want somebody else we want the mantle to be carried on, even if you don't want to carry it on. That could have been the conversation. There was no conversation. It was under the pretext of going to the museum and then later showing that, and then I felt like that was a way for them to be like, well, oh no, you gave up the shield to us. Now it's U.S. government property. We can do with it what we
Yeah,
please.
we can do what we want. You're the one who didn't want it,
Yeah.
right?
Like
But what that also does, I'm sorry, real quick, I wanted to add, because what that also does is for like outside of the actual in-universe characters, us as the fans and some of the more right-leaning fans of this stuff, it gives them an opportunity to put them on board because they could immediately be like at the end of Endgame, be like, oh, Falcon is supposed to take over for Captain America. That doesn't sit right with me. But instead, they put this guy who's clearly a phony who doesn't really fit the suit, and it just makes it feel like, you know what? Maybe Sam is not the wrong choice. Maybe Sam would be fine
We could
as a new Captain America.
The devil you know is always better than the devil
Right.
you
It's
don't
like,
know.
it paints it in a light where like everybody can get on board with this idea of him taking over because this is the alternative. Like, yeah, he's another white guy, but look at him. Like they're gonna make him like really suck as Captain America. I feel like.
And PZ the one made a good point with Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
He was gonna say that the way this is coming out, it definitely looks like they might explore the Isaiah Bradley storyline, which would be in my opinion like the best option to do for this. But from seeing the way they really played Sam, it just I know this is gonna definitely go the route of when Sam actually got the shield,
Right.
And this is definitely gonna be some what do I want to say? Tiki torch type stuff going on.
Tiki torch stuff. Now, in the comics, John Walker does become Captain America, but that's after he was originally a villain called the Super Patriot, and he fought with Captain America a couple of times. Captain America didn't like the way that the government wanted to use him to their own agenda, and he resigned as Captain America. This guy took over and effectively gave it back up. I forget what happened. There was some type of fight, and they faked his death. And Steve took it back up, and then John Walker became a U.S. agent, which is like a similar Captain America with a different suit. But he also had a little bit more extreme ways of dealing with people. He didn't shy away from killing people. That was another thing.
I mean, Steve doesn't in this version, to be honest. And honestly, that opening scene we just talked about, like Falcon was like.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I feel like he didn't blow him up. He just avoided the rockets. He didn't kill nobody directly. You know what I'm saying?
No, he did. He shot a little time bomb on a helicopter full of people, and just turned around and flew away as that joint blew up. So he has no problems killing people. I didn't mind it, but it's a little weird.
Do you blame him? I'm just saying.
I mean, it's his job. I'm not saying. I'm not saying he's wrong for doing it. Like, they were terrorists, but like he absolutely was just murdering people. So
before we go to Bucky, we're gonna talk about the Flag Smashers and obviously them being metahumans. We've seen that with the way the guy was handling the cops and the way he beat up Torres and kind of just stomped them out. Like, you see there are some powers there. And at the end of the episode, you see there is a poster that says the power broker was here. And the power broker in the comics, it does pretty much what his name intensifies. He gives people powers.
Gives people powers?
Yes,
Okay.
through experimentation and stuff like that. So I'm thinking they're going to dwell into that. I don't know if they're going to touch on the super soldier serum because there have been massive iterations of it, but nobody's ever been able to replicate it to the same extent Captain America's was. But we don't know what the issue is going to be with the power broker, but he has given people multiple powers throughout the comics, and that poster hints that he's going to be involved somehow. But Bucky. What did you guys think about Bucky's scenario and what he was dealing with at the time?
With Bucky, it kind of seemed like he had that soldier home syndrome where a lot of soldiers are having a hard time readjusting to civilian life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this man has been a soldier for over 109 years. Part of that, yeah, he was brainwashed, but he still has that soldier mentality. Like
He
you
has
see
those
him,
memories, like literally, like
yeah,
he was brainwashed, but he remembers everything he did.
everything. And then, like the scene that struck me the most because my dad was a soldier. Um, he was literally sleeping on the floor next to his couch.
Mm.
That is what a lot of soldiers coming home deal with. They can't get used to a bed that's soft.
And they
They,
touched on that in
they
Falcon and the Winter. I mean, Captain America and the Winter Soldier when Sam
yeah,
was talking to
Yeah,
Cap about
yeah, they
his.
said the same thing
Yeah.
to each other.
and then it's just for me that was a really strong scene. And then him dealing with the therapist, trying to go through the steps of readjusting, but doing them in his own kind of twisted way. He never. I mean, yeah, step one, don't hurt anyone. Really hurt him, he's just unconscious.
Then
Help him take a nap.
that should have been rule number one then if it was that important.
I mean, he completed all of the steps, but he did it his own way. And then the fact she goes through his phone and sees that he doesn't have over 10 contacts in a flip phone. Like he definitely needs to deal with a lot. And then you have him moving on to, which is something I didn't notice until my second watch through of it. The old man he's talking to, and the scene with him actually going through the assassination.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I didn't connect it at first that the old man and the man the guy who says, I won't say anything, it's the old man's son.
Yes. And the old man's name is actually in the book of his names that he owes reconciliation with.
Yeah. And seeing that is like, oh, wow. This is like his hardest one to do. Realizing that he hurt this person that severely.
Yeah.
It's a lot of emotional scenes with Bucky. I think Bucky's whole arc in that first episode was a little bit more emotional and a little bit more telling throughout the.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Like I liked how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it speaks to a lot of like real. I mean, as fantastical as the situation is, like it deals with like real issues like recovery, like post traumatic stress, the stuff with him having to live with the guilt of his actions, even though like he didn't actually do it. Like he has all the memories, so like he's gonna feel it regardless, even though that wasn't him. Mm-hmm. Like how do you reconcile with that? Like what the therapist is saying, like, hey, you just got to talk to these people, you just got to do that. Like the actual doing of those actions, like they walk you through exactly how hard that is. Like it's not easy to do what he kind of needs to do. But I also find it I didn't I didn't like freeze frame and actually check. And not that he could do this anyway, but like shouldn't Tony Stark also be in that book?
Yes, he should.
He should.
Like maybe he didn't write his name in there because, you know, he can't because he's dead, but like he never reconciled anything with Tony. So like that's I feel like that I don't know if that'll come up at some point, but like he may also have guilt and lingering nightmares and stuff about that because that was a big deal. Like it basically broke up the Avengers, that whole situation, right? So like I feel like if they do go this route and say like, okay, he does patch things up with Nori or Yori, he does, you know, get through his list that he's defeated his demons. I don't think he's done unless they address that disconnect between, you know, what he did to the Stark legacy and stuff. Like Tony's daughter is still alive. I don't know if maybe we'll get a scene where he says something to her like, hey, I really wronged your father, or I don't know. I just feel like it'll ring a little hollow if they just forget that happened, because like that's kind of that's the building block of like his entire arc is him looking for redemption.
That's how we got here. And I feel like his story is kind of mirrored in the Destiny situation that's going on now with Prince Aldrin, where he killed Cade 6, but he got reawoken as a guardian, and he has no memories of his past life. Is this man still responsible? Because basically it's the same thing as Bucky. Bucky was mind controlled to doing these things. You can pretty much say Aldrin was because it was somebody else completely in the driver's seat. It wasn't this version of Aldrin that was doing it. Now, here's the thing. I'm one of the people who hated him, too. Like, you did something. I don't know about you, man. You need to die. You just need to be gone now. Like, pow, pow, pow. But it begs to think of, should he have to pay for the crimes of somebody else? Because basically that was somebody else. And the same thing goes for Bucky. Bucky's issue is, though, he remembers everyone he's killed. And he's
I want to ask you a philosophical question. Like, what is the self if not your memories?
Right.
Like, doesn't that make, like, those collecting experiences make you who you are? So though he was controlled to do those actions, he still has the memories.
But what's the difference between that and someone else being, like, say, demonically controlled? That person will remember everything that happened, but it was somebody else completely different in the driver's seat. So it's kind of like that consciousness got pushed back, but still had to witness everything that occurred. So I think that's a better comparison to where this person just was along for the ride. They had to sit in the back seat, and they had no choice on where anything went. And I think we saw that where he couldn't recognize Steve.
I think that might be none of it is easy, but that might be an easier way to come to some sort of reconciliation. Because like PZ the One is saying, like dealing with the guilt, that's the thing.
Yep.
And like in the Aldrin scenario you gave, he doesn't have any guilt. He doesn't know what the hell you're talking about. I look like the dude who you're mad at, but I'm not that dude, so get out of my face, right? Like that's a lot harder to try and empathize with. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I can't go with you on the whole Aldrin thing, man.
Hey, well, it's an easier parody because he's shunned and disliked, and some people would kill him if they seen him based on pretty much what somebody else did. It could have been a twin with the same face.
Yeah, like what if it's a twin brother, right? Yeah. Like you're gonna get an initial reaction, but like that's not the same person.
Not the same person.
Right.
And Bucky, like you said, the thing for him is the guilt. He remembers everybody he killed, and that's what haunts him. He cares about Yuri, the old man. He cares about him, but his main goal for contacting him was to tell him what he did. That's also very hard because Bucky is supposed to be dead. The Winter Soldier doesn't exist. And that brings us to the last point is, what story do you think they told the government about what happened in Captain America? Because nobody seems to know where he is or what happened.
The therapist said that he's been pardoned.
No, the Winter Soldier was pardoned, but they don't know what happened to Captain America. Nobody knows. I don't think they told him. And how could they didn't tell him about the time heist? Obviously, I don't think they could have told them that. Hey, we have the ability to go back in time, because then that would have made them like the number one enemy in the world. Like, hey, we need that technology. If you have it, it needs to be come to us. Like, just does. Also, I don't think they told him that he went back to another timeline to live.
They probably just said he died. I mean, I don't think that's that big a mystery. They probably just were like, hey, he died.
Where's the body? Where's the body?
Like him and Tony are dead. That's what they told him. Tony died. Cap died right next to him.
Half the world disappeared into dust. I don't think they need to produce a body to
say no technicalities
died during this mission.
And then old man, like, what happened to old man Steve? Like, did he go because he lived?
I think he died. I think they were at his funeral. Like, there was early scenes of them like in black or whatever. I think it was like a memorial for it. He must have died. I
thought that was more of a memorial ceremony than anything. But
yeah, I think so. But I don't think they'd be doing that if he was also still around. Because then, like, why wouldn't he just attend? Because
then
why wouldn't he get the shield?
You think about the conversation Torres had with Bucky. He was like, everybody's wondering where Cap is. Like, is he up on the moon watching us? That type of conversation. Right, yeah. So,
okay. So, yeah, maybe he's not dead. Maybe he's just in hiding.
Yeah, he might be. I think the public thinks he is dead, but the government knows but keeps it kind of under wraps, is what PZ the One said. That definitely could be a possibility. But I guess we'll find out with the episode dropping tomorrow. A little bit more information. I'm excited about that. Our last little mention, though, before we get ready to go, because we did run over a little bit over, Invincible, the comic series, if you're familiar with it, the anime premieres on Amazon Prime tomorrow. 2 episodes are dropping. I know DJ's excited about that. That's a big blue thing. They love Invincible. Are you excited?
I'm overexcited. I've been waiting for this since it was announced 5 years ago, I believe.
5 years ago. That's a long time.
I think it was like ruminating for like a hot minute.
The ruminations. Yeah. My man.
Robert Kirkman has been sitting on this. Like, you know what? Walking Dead's doing really good. I'll go ahead and drop the best comic book I've got here.
It is very graphic. I did see that, and it does look good.
To say graphic is an understatement about Invincible. If you are down for like Mortal Kombat 11 or 10 and you like the fatalities, the brutalities, you're gonna love this, because I really hope they stick to it, because this is one of the most graphic superhero comics I have seen. I picked it up a year after it originally released, right when the hype had gotten really big about it, and I was like, you know what? No, I can't do this. I've got too much on my pull list. And this is when I was going to comic shops regularly. The shop owner said, no, you have to read this. This is a recommendation. This guy never gave any recommendations. I used to think this guy couldn't talk until he told me this.
Quick in the chat, PZ the one said, also feel Sam is being set up. I do as well. Bartrock did work for Fury, and he was the one who stole the shield ship back to kind of trap Hydra. Also, Sam went into that mission solo, very undermanned, intel was off. I felt like they wanted Sam to fail. But we can talk about this next time. We will be doing the next episode of the comic discussion on April 8th. We'll be back bi-weekly, so that'll be the Thursday after next. I want to thank DJ the Quick 59 for coming out.
You.
My man, my bro, Sigma Gears.
Anytime.
Forgot the 9, but yeah, Sigma Gears 9 coming out. I almost said 26. I think that's what threw me off.
That's old.
Old. That's been recycled.
Old info.
But definitely follow both their pages. Follow my page. Like I said, I am close to affiliate. If you want to help me get to affiliate, tell your friends to go ahead and follow my page. Like I said,
tell your enemies.
Enemies. Remember, we talked about enemies.
Like Jeff and your enemies don't got beef.
Ain't nothing against. I ain't got nothing against them. But we will be doing some giveaways, so have them follow. I will be posting my email address on the page. Follow and then send me an email, so that way your name can go into the basket. I want to kind of do like a little, either 3 gifts for the 3 people that get picked, or maybe like a kind of like a loot box of different comic things that go in there. So I'm still workshopping that, but there will be a giveaway to celebrate me making affiliate. So definitely hit that follow button on me, on Sigma, on DJ Quick the 59, on the Open Party channel. And thank you guys for coming out. This was a great show. If you want to see more content, or you have any comics or anything you guys want to bring up to us, or give any recommendations to other people watching the show, definitely let us know during the chat. And I'll catch you next time. Same place, same face.